You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here live on a Monday. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Turn the notifications on. You know how it is. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less in their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code Locked On. So it looks like it's just a normal Monday night matchup between two meddling teams who have different trajectories, but both uncertain in the same way or in the same light. 6-6 New England Patriots coming into town. Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris doesn't look like he's going to play. So it's going to look like kind of an anemic offense like we've seen from the New England Patriots so far this season. That's not really what I'm worried about. There's a couple things that we need to watch tonight that, can have massive implications for the future. And it's not just Monday night being the tipping point for these storylines. But if these things play out the way that they're trending to do, because it's what we've known here over the last couple seasons, it's just going to be another reminder that some things need to change or some things need to remain the same. And I'll talk about 2 specific ones that I touched on last week, but I feel like with the game 6 hours away, it bears repeating. And I'll give my predictions and keys to victory and everything in the final segment. Again, thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. So, number one, first and foremost, bona fide blue ribbon story tonight is Kliff Kingsbury put together a game plan that thwarts the genius mind of Bill Belichick, that keeps old Billy Boy on his toes, that keeps the New England Patriots defense from suffocating the Arizona Cardinals. This defense of the New England Patriots is not what it once was. Injuries, big free agents leaving, retiring, etc. puts this Patriots team in a different situation defensively. Now, they have Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick on the coaching staff. I know Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are calling the plays offensively, but having those two guys are two of the better defensive minds that we've seen. Bill Belichick may be the best defensive mind as a head coach that we've ever seen. Look at the Super Bowls. Can Kliff Kingsbury put together a game plan that could keep Bill Belichick on his toes and allow the Cardinals to expose the defense of the New England Patriots? That's the biggest story. That's the story, in my opinion. There's a secondary one that I'll talk about in the second segment that's more popcorny. It's more exciting. It's more fun to watch. It's more fun to talk about, definitely, because if I had a Built Bar for every time I talked about Kliff Kingsbury putting together a good game plan directly correlated to the Cardinals winning or losing, I'd have a whole lot of Built Bars. This is a perfect time for this game for the Cardinals. This is just another litmus test to show if or if not Kliff Kingsbury is capable of winning football games. Or the Cardinals probably should win. They should probably win tonight. They've got, eons better offensive skill position players. The defense is comparable at least. And we're still sitting here. Let's do quick math. 1, 2, 32, 17, 49, and 13. The 62nd game that Kliff Kingsbury's been head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Only responsible for one side of the football, asking in the first segment of a podcast before Monday Night Football, can Kliff Kingsbury put together a game plan that works? That's where we're at. So tonight, if he can, we'll put a moratorium on this at least until next week. But if they put up like 13 points tonight, what else? What more do we need to see? Even if you're not a huge Kyler Murray fan, even if you want to take the easy way out and blame injuries, blaming injuries week 14 of an NFL season is a joke. It's a joke. Everybody's injured. Everybody's hurt. All of the teams have injuries. San Francisco is playing with a third-string quarterback and now will be without Deebo Samuel for the foreseeable future. Do you see them ever complaining about injuries? No, it's next man up. And guess what? They draft well enough through first through seventh round to have players who can play at a C plus B minus level when their stars and secondary players get hurt. So blaming injury is a fool's errand. Period. I'm going to say that again. Blaming injuries is a fool's errand. Now, offensively for the Cardinals, sure, the offensive line is pretty beat up. Okay? Rodney Hudson, Justin Pugh haven't played in a long time. TJ Humphries missed a handful of games. Will Hernandez, so what? So what? If Kliff Kingsbury can't put together a game plan, and if the Cardinals offense can't execute said game plan, we've got bigger issues than injuries. Some of the same issues that we've had since 2019. So that's why tonight the biggest storyline surrounding the Arizona Cardinals New England Patriots game is Kliff Kingsbury's ability or inability to put together a game plan where the Cardinals can put up 25 or 30 points tonight. That's it. That's the biggest storyline. There is one more that's more fun, that has a better chance of happening because history is on its side. But I'll be watching Kliffy, baby. That's what I'll be watching tonight. I'll be watching penalties. I'll be watching bad timeouts. I'll be watching the stuff that we've been watching since week 1 of 2019 when they went down 3 scores at halftime against Detroit. And it took Kyler Murray to put this team on his shoulders to come back and get a tie in overtime. Week 1, first game ever that Kliff Kingsbury coached the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray bailed him out. Not sure what's changed. 62 games in. Let's see if he can prove me wrong tonight. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, popcorn segment next. Super excited about it. I'm also super excited about this. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Turo. Turo is the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the U.S., U.K., Canada, and Australia. You can book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family trip. Get a luxury car for a special event or birthday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. You have all of the options. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you, man. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. And this episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is releasing a slate of new football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love. That's why you'll be able to find a sneak peek of Think Like a Champion available right now as a bonus episode on Locked On Presents. Think Like a Champion is a brand new podcast from Russell Wilson and Audible. Russ is a champion on the field, but off of it, we rarely know the grind on the path to greatness. Russell Wilson, alongside co-hosts Harry Wilson and the late Trevor Mowad, dig into how high-performance athletes, artists, and leaders push the boundaries of their potential. Hosts will swap stories and share proven mental techniques that they have gotten the world's, most elite performers across the finish line and beyond. Available for free on Audible or wherever you get your podcast. Head over to Locked On Presents for a sneak peek of Think Like a Champion, or catch the full series available anywhere you get your podcast. Available everywhere now. Audible, get in the game. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. I'm your host, Alex Clancy. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We never charge a dime to listen to the content that you want to listen to from all your favorite teams. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. The biggest storyline going into tonight is if Kliff Kingsbury can put together a game plan that can keep old Billy Boy Belichick on his toes and yield the Cardinals to put up more than 13 or 14 points. If he can, that will be a huge feather in his cap. And listen, and this is very, very important. This is for sure grading on a curve, okay? It's a regular season game. Bill Belichick, they go across the country. If the Patriots win or lose, they're not going to remember this game next week. The Cardinals will. Any signature win the Cardinals can have is a big deal. And regardless of who is on the field, regardless of who's wearing the uniform, regardless of who's calling the plays and who's running the ball and who's catching the ball, it's the Patriots. And that's something that is just the truth. If Kliff Kingsbury can beat Bill Belichick, it's going to be a feather in his cap. We're not looking at 7-0 and 10-2 and 11-6 last year. Do you know how far distant history that is? Who cares? All that did was give him a contract extension he didn't deserve. That's it. So going into tonight, if he can put together a game plan where the Cardinals can put up more points and score more points than the Patriots when the game ends, it's going to be a feather in his cap regardless of if Bill Belichick's going to even know who the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals is that he's facing tonight. That's not the point. Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins, okay? This terrifies me, this story, okay? This storyline. One of my biggest fears going into the season when we found out DeAndre Hopkins was going to be suspended the first 6 weeks was if the Cardinals could tread water until he got back so we could see DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown on the field playing meaningful snaps and meaningful games for the Cardinals. It was set to be so until Hollywood Brown hurt himself on one of the last plays of the game in week 6. He and DeAndre Hopkins high-fived, tag-teamed, one went in, one came out, and then the fear was realized even stronger. That I hope that we see Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins play meaningful snaps and meaningful games when Hollywood Brown comes back from injury. Almost. So we saw them together against the Chargers. And the reason why this is important is because it gives an out to Michael Bidwill. It gives them an out for saying, you know what, we can't afford both. Can't afford both guys. Just traded Hollywood Brown for a first-round pick. Got to pay him. He's younger. If you ask me who I'd rather have for the next 3 years, Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins, it's DeAndre Hopkins, and it's not close. So tonight, seeing Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins both flourish with Kyler Murray throwing the ball, it will just continue to nail in the fact that both of these players need to be retained by the Cardinals. Now, they probably will anyways. Hollywood Brown is going to want a contract extension. I don't know what's going to happen. That could get sticky because lest we forget, I remind people a lot if this is your first time listening to Locked On Cardinals, thank you very much. If you've heard this 100 times, I apologize, but it's important. Hollywood Brown shares an agent with DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown. None of those guys played the extent of their rookie scale contract before getting a contract extension. And even though Hollywood Brown may not be at the level of those three wide receivers, I would be hard-pressed to think that he'll play another snap before he gets a contract extension after the season ends. DeAndre Hopkins, there's a team out in his contract at the end of this season. He has no more guaranteed money coming to him after this season. So there's going to need to be money given to him in guaranteed form at the end of this season. So that could mean that they could be getting between $40 and $45 million combined to play for the Arizona Cardinals. And you think, well, that's not how you win a Super Bowl. That's not how you build a winning roster. When has Steve Keim ever subscribed to a newsletter to read as pertaining to how to run an organization in a way to win a Super Bowl or to build out a roster? He punts on that idea. So if this is going to be the first time it's like, you know what, can't do it, got to build from the lines out, I'll boycott. I'll 100% boycott. And I'm saying that because they should pay them both, okay? But for those who want that to happen, root for both of them to perform tonight. 6-7 catches, 70 to 80 yards, and hopefully a touchdown, something like that, to where it forces the hand of a man who we question if he really cares about winning in Michael Bidwill. Forces his hand to pay both of those gentlemen, which I know would put those three, a triumvirate with them two and Kyler Murray, making up about $75 million of the salary cap every year. It's going to be a lot, and it needs to happen if the Cardinals want to win. Well, you know, what about the offensive line? Draft better. Well, what about the edge rush and corners? Draft better and draft positions of need. It isn't difficult. Running a team is difficult, of course. But if me, the idiot, can see that Steve Keim hasn't drafted an offensive lineman since DJ Humphries in 2015 in the first two rounds, and fans give him credit for drafting offensive linemen in the 6th round because they drafted the position, if I can see what needs to be done, and if most other people, Jordan Schultz had a great tweet. He tweeted out something, just another not so great outlook from somebody who's been in the NFL for a long time, quoting, it was, you know, an unnamed person in the tweet about Steve Keim just not knowing what the hell he's doing. So tonight, DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown just need to solidify the fact that they're going to need to be Arizona Cardinals, regardless of price tag, for the next 5 years. And if you can do it against the Bill Belichick defense, even better. And if you can do it with the hobbled offensive line and a defense that's lesser than talent-wise because it was neglected all offseason, even better. When DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown are on the field from now until the end of the season, it needs to be pushing 200 yards receiving, pushing 15 to 18 catches, pushing 25 targets, and pushing a touchdown and a half higher or lower. Or, you know, higher than a touchdown and a half. That's what it's got to be, because you know what? If that works, at least you know from now for the next 5 years, you've got Kyler Murray and his wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 1A. And you know what that's going to breed? Free agents wanted to come play on the defense. Free agents wanted to come play offensive line. Running backs wanted to be a part of this offense. Tight ends wanted to be a part of this offense, who may take less money to come play with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Hollywood Brown. That's what sparks all of this. And the Cardinals were on the precipice of something great starting 10-2 last year. If they could have made the playoffs and clinched a playoff spot on their own, and if they could have won a playoff game, the free agent market to come to play at State Farm Stadium wouldn't have been as desolate as it was this year. And that's what you want. That's when Seinfeld hits syndication. That's when you have passive income. When it does it for you, once, if you take care of what you're supposed to take care of, other things fall into place. And the Cardinals have gotten so close at taking care of what they were supposed to take care of, and then they stop flat. And you almost fall back further than where you were with all the momentum gained. Because the last thing you want to hear people say out of their mouths is, see, told you it was the Cardinals. It wasn't if, it was when. And DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown with Kyler Murray on the field, if they can continue to churn out numbers that we all know that they can and should, that is going to be great momentum going into 2023 in a season of 2022 that was marred by a bunch of what-ifs, bad decisions, bad play, etc. That will be a guiding light into 2023, and it needs to continue tonight at State Farm Stadium on Monday Night Football. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Coming up next, I'll give my thoughts about the game, predictions, etc. Man, that's why I told you the popcorn story. That is so fascinating. I could do a weeks-long podcast on why they need to bring back Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and pay him whatever they want. Whatever they want. Locked On Cardinals. Whew, I need a throat loss. I need a Ludens after that. Your team, Auricola. Your team every day, Prize Picks. Okay. Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Prize Picks. Makes daily fantasy easy. You pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less in their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projection available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. Includes NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball when it comes back, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, whatever. PrizePicks.com has got you covered. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign-up for an instant deposit match up to $100 buccarinos. You see why I feel like this is a much bigger game than just a Week 14 matchup against 2 teams that probably aren't going to make the playoffs? For the Cardinals especially, it's going to be confirming or putting into question 2 things that have massive implications on the future for the Arizona Cardinals. If Kliff Kingsbury puts together a good game plan and the game plan gets executed, the Cardinals put up a 30-burger and win convincingly tonight, it'll leave the door open. If they put up 13 points and get embarrassed and have a lot of, mistimed play calling or, I'm not even I know the offensive line is banged up. I get it. And I am on team. You cannot blame injuries for anything. That is a weak stance. Every team has injuries. I don't care how many injuries the Cardinals have. I don't care how many high-impact position players on the offensive line are hobbled for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't care. You know why? How many offensive linemen did the Arizona Cardinals draft in 2022? How many? You decided to trade for a wide receiver and draft a tight end who Max Williams has had more impact on the Cardinals this year with missing a bunch of time and being cut and then being signed back to the practice squad, being brought up on game day when Zach Ertz got hurt, than Trey McBride. Could have drafted offensive lineman there. You could have drafted Drake Jackson off the edge from USC. You could have done a lot of things, and they didn't. So it doesn't matter about injuries. Injuries don't matter this time of the year. They're not an excuse. Let me rephrase. They don't matter in storylines. Everybody's injured. If you say, well, the Cardinals are injured, so the season's a loss. Do you know how many good players the Cardinals have that are playing? Give me a break. Give me a break. So going into tonight, the offensive line's hobbled, sure. If Kliff Kingsbury can put together a good game plan around it, Kyler Murray executes it, and you can highlight DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown, Cardinals can get a W tonight. Okay? What do the Cardinals need to avoid in their journey for victory tonight? I have 2 words. It's a first name and a last name. Ramondre Stevenson. If you don't know who he is yet, you will. I don't know why he dropped. I think he dropped to the 4th round. Had a massive year his last year in college. He's in everything back now. Damian Harris is going to be out. Sometimes backfields get cluttered. And this is my theory. You know what? We've talked about this a lot. We've already done an extra podcast on this. My theory, one of my favorite things to talk about is that, and I start with basketball first. Star players in basketball coming up through, elementary school, middle school, AAU, high school ball, college ball, they never come off the bench. They're always the best player on their team. They always take the most shots. They always play the most minutes. And that's what they've been used to forever. And then some rookies get drafted and they don't start right away. And they have to come off the bench as the 7th or 8th player. And they only get 22 minutes a game of 48. And they don't go right from breaking a sweat in layup lines to starting to being able to roll. Okay, and people struggle with that. Not everybody's Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford, who made careers out of coming off the bench. Just like in the NFL, Ramondre Stevenson and running backs like that were used to getting all of the touches in college, running the ball and out of the back, and running the ball and catching the ball out of the backfield. And then when you have to split carries, you're off the field a lot more. So sometimes it's hard to get your rhythm. And with Damian Harris being out, Ramondre Stevenson is going to be full head of steam. He's probably going to get 30 touches tonight. And if the Cardinals can stop Ramondre Stevenson, they have a much better chance of winning this game. He's not a home run threat because he's not the fastest guy, but the dude has great hands, got great footwork. He has such great vision. The Cardinals need to stop him. And he's really the only real, true offensive skill position player talent, elite talent that the Patriots have. Now, we're talking about the Cardinals, so you got to talk about Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith has been, ask my co-host of the Locked On NFL Thursday show that I do, Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans. Jonnu Smith has been non-existent in the offense. Hunter Henry is a touchdown machine when he's healthy. He's a touchdown machine. So watching for Hunter Henry tonight is the biggest thing for the Cardinals in the passing game. But Ramondre Stevenson, although he'll have some part in the passing game, is public enemy number one for the Cardinals defense. Number two, the Cardinals need to be able to move the ball against this defense. They have to. They have to. The mental errors are something that Bill Belichick thrives on opposing teams committing. So you better believe that Billy B has some tricks up his sleeve to try and shake this fragile offense at times of the Cardinals in an effort to get them the break. So do the Cardinals win tonight? I can't, in good conscience, say yes. And it's because it's Bill Belichick. If this was a middle-rung team with a different head coach, I'd say yes. But I need to see Kliff Kingsbury compete and beat Bill Belichick before I can pick the Cardinals. Now, in Kliff Kingsbury's defense, the last time that they played the Cardinals 2 years ago at Foxborough, they were a bad personal foul hit on the quarterback call from Isaiah Simmons on Cam Newton. It wasn't, Isaiah Simmons just launched Cam Newton. It wasn't a penalty. It got called. Nick Folk kicked a long field goal, and the Patriots won by nose hair. I think there were under 35 points scored in the game or 37 points scored in the game. It was a mud in the muck game that the Cardinals should have won. And they should have won. But I need to see it on Monday Night Football at home, a place where the Cardinals have only won one game in 14 months. I need to see it. If I see it, we're going to be having different conversations for the rest of the season because they play Denver, who they should beat, even though it's on the road. And they play Atlanta, who they should beat in the next 2 weeks. It starts tonight. Kliff Kingsbury needs to put together a good game plan. We need to see DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown both show out to force Michael Bidwill's hand to start writing the checks now for the next 5 years for both of these players. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Make sure to check me out on Halftime, Twitter Spaces, and on YouTube right here. Turn the notifications on so you know when the video is up, and I'll talk to you during the podcast post-game, hopefully after a Cardinals win. Locked On Cardinals.